Thank you very much. Today we're going to have a little chat with the guys from Breast Cancer Now, and we've got Abby and Sami from Breast Cancer Now, which is a charity, and they're going to tell you all about their activities for this year and a bit about the charity itself. And we also have Jane O'Neill, who's a member of Lauder Institute in Berwickshire. And Jane has a personal relationship with the charity that she's going to talk about too. So thank you very much. I'm going to pass over to Abby.
Hi everyone.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you so much for having us. It's lovely to meet you all. So yeah, I'm here along with Jane and Sami to just talk a little bit about Breast Cancer Now and the work we do as a charity, and also a bit about our summer fundraising event, Afternoon Tea, which we'd really love if you wanted to get involved in this summer. It's a really great way to raise money for some of the work that we're doing. So just to give you a little bit of a background for Jane, I'm sure she'll add to it. She's part of our secondary breast cancer campaign group, and she really is one of our most tireless and passionate campaigners. We're so grateful to have her. She lends her voice and experience regularly to help us talk about and improve some of the support and care and research that we're doing, especially for people living with secondary breast cancer. So Jane's going to just talk to you a bit about what we do as a charity. I'll jump in as well with a bit of background, and then she'll talk through some of her own experiences and her journey, some of the work she's been doing for us. And then I'll pass over to Sami. So Sami heads up our afternoon tea team at Breast Cancer Now, and she'll just talk a bit more about what afternoon tea is, how you can get involved, and any other questions you might have about it. So I'll just share my screen and then hand over to Jane.
Well, good afternoon, ladies. It's lovely to meet you all. Good afternoon from Lauder. I'm down here in the Scottish borders. It should have been the sunny Scottish borders, but it's not quite as good as it was yesterday, but there we are. So I'm delighted to be with you and with my friends from the charity Breast Cancer Now that I've been heavily involved with, really since 2012. And I've been very fortunate to, I suppose, be able to go and speak on behalf of the charity at a number of institutes down here in the borders. So if I could pop on to the next slide, that would be lovely. I need to learn how to do this and I'm not quite there yet, but there we are. So one of...
I'm on the wrong one.
Oh, that's okay. So we are indeed Breast Cancer Now. And I have to say I've been with or involved with the charity since 2012. And I've probably lived through a few name changes over the last number of years. Haven't we all, with various bits and pieces? But one of the really lovely things that I thought I would highlight first is the commonalities really of being a member of the SWI, and also a lot of the goals and aims that Breast Cancer Now have. And I guess one of the easiest places to start is the name of our magazine, Women Together, because that's exactly what we are, women together. And breast cancer, whilst not entirely the preserve of women, men do get breast cancer too, it is mostly known as the disease of ladies. Don't know if the next slide is around. Yeah. And the next one maybe? Yes, so this is something that one of the reasons that I became involved with, that the charity has a very bold ambition, that by 2050, everyone who develops breast cancer will live and live well. And that is currently not the case. So it is bold. I like bold. And I think that one of the reasons that it is and can be achieved is because of the enormous amount of fundraising that people like yourselves get involved with, that help us help women like me achieve this goal. It's the next slide. There we are. So by achieving that, it takes all forms. And Breast Cancer Now is the largest, singularly the largest charity involved in breast cancer research and breast cancer support. It's both. And the figures around breast cancer are really quite startling. And the latest figures that I have in front of me, that at the moment in Scotland, around 4,600 women a year will be diagnosed with breast cancer. And 25 men, we can't forget the men, around 25 men. And incredibly, from those figures, 1,000 women in Scotland each year die from the disease, which for me it's a lot. It's an awful lot. Could we have the next slide, please? Yeah, there we go. So pretty much what I've just said. And again, when I was diagnosed back in 2012, I was quite surprised that breast cancer really is an overarching sort of 20 different, breast cancer just isn't breast cancer. There are lots of different types. And because there are lots of different types, that means that there's lots of different treatments. So not everybody will follow the same line, the same pattern. And that's what makes research so critical into the disease. Next one. Yeah. So one of the wonderful things about fundraising for this charity and bringing awareness is that whilst Breast Cancer Now, they support an inordinate amount of research into breast disease, why it happens, and I'll maybe talk a little bit about one of the areas. They also provide a specialist nurse-led service, both on telephone and online. They provide forums and groups. They provide services such as courses to help people move on from their diagnosis, end of treatment. And they also provide services around women diagnosed with secondary breast cancer, which is when breast cancer cells travel to different parts of the body, and the disease at that point sadly becomes incurable. And that takes an awful lot of money. And that's why fundraising is just so vitally important. I think, although the girls might correct me, that currently in Scotland, Breast Cancer Now funds over £2 million worth of actual research, supporting 21 scientists, and they're carrying out this research in 5 locations in Scotland: Dundee, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Inverness and St Andrews. I think I've got those right. So it is, much of the research is being done up here in Scotland, which is absolutely fantastic. And yes, the charity is very much involved with the Scottish Government and moving ahead with them in the Detecting Cancer Early programme, but also assisting the Scottish Government with the refreshed cancer strategy and letting the government know what people living with breast cancer really want from government, how they feel it needs to be. Do we have another slide? Yeah, so as I've said, the charity do support a huge amount of work. And I know, because I didn't really want to leave the men out, given that we have Raymond at central office We can't forget him. Then the charity does support a male breast cancer study, which is quite unusual worldwide, because often the men are almost forgotten about, which is very sad, but they shouldn't be. But one of the things I would really like to highlight from this slide is the Breast Cancer Now Generation study. And I'm not sure if anybody's heard about it, but launched in 2004. Total of 113,000 women are going to be followed up for 40 years, which is a massive undertaking. I can't even get my head around that. But the study is already paying dividends in relation to some of the reasons why some breast cancers respond better to certain treatments than others, why some women and families may be more susceptible than others. They've given lots of different things around the inherited gene BRCA1 and BRCA2, and also 90 other common genetic characteristics associated with breast cancer that for the large part we didn't really know about. But also, and one of the things that I have talked about when institutes have been kind enough to invite me along, is the impact of life events and lifestyle factors in risks of breast cancer. And also one of the big things which I know has been in the newspapers a lot, I think there was a television program within the last week or 10 days around HRT. Well, believe it or not, the Generation study is actually giving scientists a lot more information around HRT and the impact this may or may not have on the risks for developing or increasing the risks of you developing breast cancer. So a massive undertaking. We're only what, well, 2004, we're not 20 years in yet, so we're not halfway there. But again, the money that is raised by afternoon tea events and lots of other events go to help the charity fund this type of project. Is there another slide? Yes, can you, yes. Can we go to, yeah, can you reduce your risk? Well, the answer is you can. And I know it often startles people, and sometimes it does, you can hear the sharp intakes of breath, but yes, we know being physically active, being breast aware, and I would say that if you please do sign up for the afternoon tea event, and one of the options it will give you is to order some fantastic little TLC cards. I don't know if anybody's seen them, called Touch, Look, Check. And being breast aware is one of the best things that you can be. And this little card is absolutely fantastic for allowing you to really, I was going to say get to grips with checking your breast, but you know what I mean, ladies. You know what I mean. But it is so important. 30 minutes of moderate physical activity a day. As I've said when I spoke to my own institute, that could be running around in the garden after your grandchildren. It could be mowing the lawn. It could be doing all sorts of things. Space hoppers. I did at one institute say, could this be your next event out on space hoppers? Possibly not, but you never know. Institutes, we know how great and how inventive the SWI ladies are at doing lots of different things. So why not golfing, biking, walk in the park, even vacuuming? I know not everybody's it's not my favorite thing, but it can help. Taking your dog for a walk, all of these things, no matter how small, and we all do them every day in life, can really, really help. Next slide, please. So I chose to add this because attending when you're invited for mammograms is so important. It's part of a much bigger picture. And here we have an image of what a normal mammogram would look like. And not everybody has seen an image like this, but I think it's important because your breasts are unique to you. And I know, because I have asked, that if you do attend for your mammogram and you would like a look at your image, I'm quite sure the radiologists and the radiographers are very happy for you to do that. I know there's a follow-up one to this, and you'll probably immediately spot the difference. So this is what an inflammatory breast cancer looks like on a mammogram. Very, very different. All of that white area is breast disease. And I'm going to hold my hand up because I didn't tell either of the girls from Breast Cancer Now. That's actually a picture of me. And that's what we were faced with, or I was faced with, on the 1st of February 2012. And I was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer at that point. Quite a rare form of breast cancer. The last time I spoke to my fantastic team, which was about 2 weeks ago, I did a double check, and it only accounts for around 1% of all breast cancers diagnosed. And it's unique because it spreads through the lymphatic system. And that's why you can see the white areas being so prevalent on that. So that's what an abnormal mammogram can look like. Is there another one? I think there's another slide perhaps after this. Yes, I like this a lot. Check your lemons. I do, because we are, as I've said, all very different, and not all breast cancers will present in a unified format. So you can have all sorts of different presentations, and that's why the TLC card is so important. It really condenses what you're looking at on screen into a fantastic little pocket-sized card. So we won't all have the same presentations, but it's good to know yourself what normal you looks and feels like, so you can then identify maybe something that doesn't look quite right, and then go and have that checked out by your GP. And I know, having spoken to GPs and other breast teams, they would much rather see people that have a concern than people stay at home and worry about something. So that's another, I think, very important message that needs to be got out. And the TLC card brings that home very, very nicely. Could we have another slide, please? Oh, here we go. So I know we've had elections in Scotland. This is Paul Wheelhouse, who was until May an MSP, but Paul has been an ardent supporter of Breast Cancer Now. He's down in my neck of the woods, hence the reason this is taken at the Scottish Parliament. You might recognise the steps from lots of Reporting Scotland and lots of other things. But when Breast Cancer Now asked the Scottish Parliament and MSPs to support a pledge to stop women dying from secondary breast cancer, then Paul was extremely happy to support that. And that was actually taken because he very kindly invited me to an event at the Scottish Parliament where this campaign was launched. So Scottish Parliament are very aware, and I know the charity work very well, and we have a very good working relationship with those at the Scottish Parliament, to let them know what we feel are the really important issues, and to drive the message home that we need some changes to our system to make things better for all women diagnosed in Scotland, both with a primary diagnosis and indeed a secondary diagnosis. I'm not sure if there are any more. Oh, yes, oh, here we go. So this is what chemotherapy can look like. And yes, that is my left hand. Mm-hmm. And this is combination chemo that I started to have back in 2012. It looks a nice little cocktail, if only it was, but it gives you an idea of what chemo can actually look like, the physicality of it, I should say, and what it looks like. Oh, and this is me. Oh yes, at the same said event with the MSPs. Gosh, that is a couple of years ago now. I had hair back then. I've got a little bit at the moment, as you can see. It's growing back in quite nicely. But yes, that's me at the Scottish Parliament. Sometimes feels like my second home with breast cancer now. And yes, this is a piece that I did, gosh, back in 2014 for the magazine.
All right.
And most of you, well, a lot of you may recognise the gentleman in that photograph. It is, of course, Daniel O'Donnell. And Daniel very kindly gave of his time in October 2013. That is me. Gosh, and I can tell you that 6 weeks earlier, I had had a mastectomy. When that, so I was about 6 weeks post-surgery at that point, and that was taken at the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall. I think he was doing, I think he was in concert that night, and he very kindly gave of his time to help the then breakthrough breast cancer, now breast cancer now, help get some messages across, which was great. That was certainly a day to remember, that's for sure. I've also done some other fundraising with a ball, and I'm very pleased to say that we raised in excess of £6,000 that night, and I requested that the money raised stay in Scotland for a piece of research that my consultant at the time was actually undertaking on behalf of the charity. I think there might be a picture of him later on somewhere. Oh, that's my husband and I at the George Hotel in Edinburgh, the night of the ball. Yes, glass in hand. I needed it before the event got underway. I was terrified. This was another event that I took part in, and some of the money did go to Breast Cancer Now. And as you can see, I was having treatment, I think, at the time. I had my hat on because I had no hair. And part of that event was that to raise awareness, I took to the catwalk that evening and I took my hat off to show the reality of what life is like for many women that lose their hair during treatment. So, yes. And of course, 2012 Olympic year, yes, and I managed to have a picture taken with one of the torches that was paraded through, as a lot of people did at the time. Gosh, this is taking me back down memory lane again. It's great. And I think there might be one more possibly. Oh, yeah. Oh, goodness. Yes. Yeah, I know. Peter Andre, what can I say? He was absolutely delightful. I have to admit, I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but he was absolutely delightful. And you can see I've got a little pin on from Breast Cancer Now. That actually disappeared because he took that. He wanted to keep that. So he now has a pin from the charity. So it'll be somewhere. It'll be somewhere. And this, last but by no means least, I suspect, is the gentleman that I alluded to just a couple of minutes ago. This is Professor Mike Dixon, who is a breast surgeon in Edinburgh and has worked extensively with Breast Cancer Now and has headed up a team the research team for the charity in Edinburgh. And the money that I raised at ball that I did, he came along and he wrote the foreword to the programme for me. And he was undertaking a piece of research which looked at why certain breast cancers do not respond particularly well to treatment. And last year, he kindly invited me to the first ever inaugural Edinburgh Breast Cancer Symposium, where he presented that paper. And I felt fantastic that even just that tiny little bit of money that I had raised and the work of the charity had resulted in a paper being presented at a major international breast cancer symposium. And I laugh and say he's my knight in shining armor, because without him, I possibly wouldn't have done as well as I have done. So this was him at Buckingham Palace receiving an OBE. Now, I'm not sure if there is anything. Yes, I'm not sure. What I did allude to during my talk is that for some women that receive a primary breast cancer diagnosis, around 30% will go on and at some point in their life develop secondary incurable breast cancer. And that's the position that I now find myself in. I was diagnosed in 2016 with secondary breast cancer. And on the back of that, I would probably say I've become even more involved with the charity through a campaign that they ran and launched 2 years ago. It doesn't have the most flattering title. It was called the Unsurvivors Campaign, because very sadly, that's where people, women like me, will now find themselves. And I've done rather well, because the median life expectancy for somebody like me is 2 years. Next month, I'll have been kicking around for 5. And I plan to kick around for a lot longer and create a lot more mischief, particularly with my institute. There's a lot more that I plan to do, hence the short hair, because I've effectively been on chemo since January of last year. And one of the reasons, and I felt very privileged to have been asked to take part in the Unsurvivors campaign, is because sometimes we are forgotten about a little bit. And Breast Cancer Now do not forget about us, and they work tirelessly to make sure that our policymakers know that we're there, and they do a massive amount of work. I've been back at the Scottish Parliament and met with the previous Secretary of State for Health and got some assurances around treatment, access to drugs, and data collection, which is hugely important. And also the need for specialist nurses, not to be on the end of a telephone, but to physically be in all NHS departments. So women like me do have access, and I'm very fortunate. I have my care in Edinburgh, and I have not just one nurse, I have a team. And I am almost unique in that situation. So I don't think my work is done. I have a lot more to do with the charity, and I know that the charity have my back when it comes to that. And that's where you guys come in, because to be able to do all of this, we need funds. And it's incredible how inventive people are. And the afternoon tea is going to be one of those ways that perhaps you as an individual, or indeed your institute, might like to get involved and help women just like me get past that 2-year median life expectancy. And as I say, I love being part of what SWI means: education, share, campaign, learn, socialize, have fun. There's so much of that I see happen. And I know that hopefully with me rabbiting on for a few minutes, it's maybe just pricked a few things that you think you might be able to take back to your institutes and say, what about giving this a go? Or is there anybody in our area that might like to come along and give us a bit more of a heads up? So thank you very much for listening to me. And I hope that you will take part in some of the fantastic events that the charity have got coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Great. So Abby, back to you, Abby. Thank you. Oh.
Again, in future, we're not done yet. So I'm just going to pass over to Sami now, who's going to talk a little bit more about what afternoon tea is and how you can get involved if you'd like to.
Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. So hi everyone, it's really lovely to meet you. My name's Sami, and as Abby mentioned, I look after the really wonderful afternoon tea team at Breast Cancer Now. Firstly, Jane, I just want to say a massive thank you for sharing your story and just for all the work you do for Breast Cancer Now, because we absolutely could not do what we do without amazing people like you having our back as well as us having yours. So thank you for coming today and sharing your story with us. I'm here today really just to tell you about afternoon tea. I think Jane's done a wonderful job about telling you about what we do as Breast Cancer Now, so I'll stick to the fundraising part for now. So I'm going to tell you a bit about the campaign and also how you can take part this summer. So I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully you can all see that now. So afternoon tea is a really long-standing fundraising campaign at Breast Cancer Now that's actually been running for over 20 years. So it's got a lot of heritage and lots of wonderful people have taken part for us. This year, thousands of people in the UK, right across the UK, are having an afternoon tea for Breast Cancer Now in August, and we would absolutely love for you to be able to join us as well. Every year, we are absolutely overwhelmed by the support we get from our wonderful fundraisers and the amazing fundraising efforts that they go to. So you can see here, we have supporters who bake cakes for amazing garden parties, have raffles and so much more, as you can see from some of the photos here. And I think you'll agree there's some quite impressive baking that tends to go on throughout our community as well. So we're always in awe of the photos that are sent in to us. As I said, we're also incredibly lucky to be joined by amazing people like Jane who tell their story and help us to raise awareness of the impact that you can all individually make by taking part and putting on your own afternoon tea for Breast Cancer Now. There are lots of ways to take part. It can be as simple as a cuppa in the garden. You can deliver delicious sweet treats to friends. You basically can have your afternoon tea however is best for you. Whatever you choose to do, we're obviously right here to support you from the point that you sign up, whether you need recipes, tips, fun games to play, posters. As Jane mentioned as well, we've got lots of leaflets that raise awareness about what we do as a charity, but also how to check your breasts and how to be familiar with them as well to kind of, make sure that we're all being breast aware. I suppose I just wanted to highlight that right now, the support from people like you has never been so important. Everyone has been impacted from the last year, we know, but the coronavirus pandemic has had a devastating impact on our ability at Breast Cancer Now to support people affected by breast cancer ultimately when they need us the most. By August this year, we are expecting to see our income fall, again, as has been the case for a lot of charities. But to be honest, it's only made us more determined to be there for people affected by breast cancer now and in the future as well. So no matter how your afternoon tea looks, every afternoon tea will help us to support anyone affected by breast cancer today and give much needed hope for the future as well. So this slide kind of highlights how you can all take part. This year, Afternoon Tea Month is in August, so that's where we're encouraging everyone to have their teas. But if August doesn't work for you or for your WI locally, then you can have your tea at any time that is convenient for you. Just let us know and we can make sure we wish you luck for your big day. If you'd like to take part, you can register today at breastcancernow.org/kettle. You can also email us if you'd like to, or you can also register over the phone by calling us on the number on the screen, and our wonderful team will get you signed up and make sure your fundraising packet's on its way. When you register, we do send you a fabulous fundraising pack with everything you will possibly need for a successful event. So that has a fundraising guide in it, posters, coasters. We've got beautiful bunting which Kath Kidson actually helped us to design, so we've got some beautiful prints across our bunting. Also, there's more downloads on our website as well if you feel like you need anything extra, and you can order additional items to our website as well. So if something like additional TLC leaflets or anything like that really appeals to you, then all you have to do is go to the website, pop us an email to let us know, and we can make sure that you've got absolutely everything you would need. So that's it for me, really, just to say, so please grab your whisk and get ready. Please join us. We'd love for you to join us for afternoon tea this August. And of course, if you have any questions, you can contact us by the details on the screen, and we're also happy to answer any questions now if anyone's got any.
It's just so easy to do. I think that's the great thing about it. Yeah. We all know how what our meetings look like, and invariably, if your institute is anything like Lauders, we'll have 1 month competition, which will be baking. The next month will be either something that you've knitted or you've made. Never ever did I think that my sausage rolls would win first prize. So they'll be popped out for the afternoon tea, trust me on that one. But we know how I have learned so much from so many of you about how to cook better, bake better, do things better. That's where your federation shows come in. Get your federation show chairs involved. You know, it can take all sorts. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. And these fabulous ladies, they'll help you out with everything you need. And the pack is so comprehensive. And as I say, Kath Kidson has been involved with bunting, but goodness gracious, I've seen some fabulous bunting pulled out for events and other things over my time with the SWI. So yeah, women together, go for it. Dead easy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jane.
Yes, thank you, guys. Abby, do you want to say anything, or shall I open to questions? What do you want to do?
I think Sami and Jane have said it all for me. So yeah, go ahead, ask us any questions. I'm sure between the three of us, we should be able to help.
Yes, okay. I suppose that well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much, because I think from you know, it's easy for people to have an image of what breast cancer looks like or is like, but actually to hear it directly from someone who's experiencing it is really quite moving and important. And also the fact that you're trying to do it for all women, and you particularly, Jane, because you know you're here with us now, but for all women of all ages, and trying to you know, eradicate the pain and suffering that goes with it is something that's important for all of us, from whether it's for us personally or for our children or our grandchildren or great grandchildren, whoever it is. So that's really important. So thank you very much for sharing that. Does anyone have any questions? No questions. I suppose, Jane, I'd like to know how do you make your sausage rolls then? What makes you?
I was afraid you were going to ask that. Okay, so I was taught by one of the ladies in my institute how to make really good sausage meat, because she makes the most amazing meatloaf. And I said, come on, you know, she's won at show level. You've got to tell me what you do. So she gave me a couple of tips, and then I toddled down to my local butcher and said, right, this is what I need. And I think he just looked at me as if to say, are you mad? And I said, well, yes, but you know, this is what I need. And I remember from my school days, not yesterday, that we were taught how to make pastry from scratch. And I just cracked on one day, and the evening that this was for, we actually had our speaker that evening had come from our local sort of now the Borders doesn't have mountains, but we do have a mountain rescue team down here that go out for people that get stuck up, you know, hills, and they get stuck in water because of the Tweed and all the rest of it. So we thought, well, what would they like? Would they like a really hearty, good old sausage roll? So that was the competition that night. And I just thought, well, do you know what? I'm just going to give it a go.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just see. And I was somewhat surprised that they, because we always get our guests, as I'm sure probably most institutes do, to go and taste test and pick their winner. So yes, I was very fortunate. So it was a combination of some really good minced pork from my local butcher, herbs, spices. I think I had breadcrumbs in there, probably an egg yolk. I'm trying to really think off the top of my head. And the pastry, well, I just went from scratch and laminated it up, and I didn't kill anybody, so I was happy. that was all right. And when I spoke to my own institute, who very kindly asked me to do a presentation, they ran 2 competitions that night. The first one was to decorate up a bra for the moonwalk.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw some really interesting things there. And the other one was to ice and decorate 2 cupcakes.
Oh, yes.
So you've got no idea what I saw that night. I have some serious questions to ask about 1 or 2 of my neighbours now. But yes, it was great fun. And I have to say, the institutes down here in Berwickshire that have asked me to speak have all been incredibly welcoming, and they've all been unbelievably inventive around the theme of breast cancer and breast cancer now. So go for it. As I've said, go for it. Doesn't matter. We don't care. I think that's what I say, because everybody thinks, well, you know, I've got to raise so much money. It doesn't matter. You know, £10 will buy 50 microscope slides that the scientists that Breast Cancer Now fund need every single day in life. £10.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So if that's what comes in, I can absolutely guarantee you that's what will be utilised. It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
No.
So
I mean,
anything.
I would echo that entirely. We are unbelievably grateful for every single piece of support, every single bit of fundraising that we get. We don't take any of it for granted. I think it's just amazing to me that even over the last year, even despite everything that is still going on in the world right now, that people are still making time to support charities like us and to help us continue doing the work that we do. I just think I'm in all of you who've been doing any charity initiatives over the last year. I just think, yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you will all, as institutes, have had members affected in some way, shape, or form. You know, so we're we are around and walking around, and sometimes, whilst it can be challenging to hear people's stories, and I know that. Sometimes I think it just helps bring things into focus and into perspective, that in Scotland, as SWI members, we will have ladies within our own environment that will be affected. But no, please know that there is a charity that will be here to support them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Great. I can see that. I know that Annette. Do you mind if I come to you, because I know that you said I saw you with your fancy teacup there, and you've got you've got yourself all dolled up as well. So
Yes.
Wonderful.
hello, Annette.
Hello.
Hi.
Do you think you'd like to take part? Yeah.
Oh,
Taking
perfect. I'm loving it.
And I've got my fancy.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
Gosh, that's amazing.
even better.
That was
even
my mum.
better.
That was my mum knitted that tea
Oh,
cozy years ago.
It's pink and everything.
It's great.
I know.
It's great.
I've even got a wee flower on the table.
Oh, do you know?
Oh,
Yeah. Am I surprised? No, I'm not.
No.
Absolutely not.
That
No,
was an excellent.
definitely not.
That was excellent, Jane. Your voice came over very well. You're a lovely speaker. I still enjoyed that. I've learned a lot more than what I've ever done before. It's just lovely, Jane.
Thank you.
And you don't really know if it's tea in there or not.
Oh yeah. No.
I don't. And do you know what? Because it's the SWI, I'm not
Yeah.
going to ask.
No.
I know.
Fabulous.
Could be a tipsy tea party, couldn't it?
Yes, it could.
Loving it. Loving it.
Annette's our crochet queen. Annette's doing the month-long crochet with us, so that's
Oh gosh.
she's
Yes.
very talented at crochet. So I'd like to think that maybe there's quite a few people on here would be interested in sharing with their institutes, or sort of taking it on and saying, right, let's do something. But what we'll do is we'll promote it on our Facebook and obviously on our YouTube. But we'll promote it on Facebook to try and get people to come and watch this. Sure. And then take it and run with it in August. Mm-hmm. A lot of the institutes don't go back until September, so it might be September, but that's fine, as you said. It doesn't
absolutely fine. Yeah, just whenever is best for everyone is good.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything else you'd like to say, or quite happy?
Thank you for having me.
Oh, Evelyn. Hello, Evelyn.
I was just wondering, is there I mean, I know it's a long way from Berwickshire to come up to Angus, but I was wondering if there was a speaker nearer.
We can absolutely find that one out. I'm quite sure there will be. But that's something that we can go back and look at for you. Absolutely.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Absolutely.
If not, Evelyn, then you could always show this to your members anyway, couldn't you? You could have an evening and show this film.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure Lynn would manage.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's easy to do if you've got a computer. You can do it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Fantastic.
So shall we raise our cups and say cheers and thank you very much to the ladies?
Absolutely.
That was excellent, Jane. Cheers.
Yeah, very
Cheers.
good. Cheers.
I have my Diet Coke. Just don't tell them I've got a Diet Coke. I did promise I'd increase my water intake, but I've got a Diet Coke here just now.
And I'm sure, Jane, you wouldn't mind travelling maybe to Wigtonshire or
no,
Dumfriesshire.
I'm happy to go. Just whatever. if the
Hello.
SWI want to use me, then I'm here to be used, if you know what I mean.
There you are, Eve.
So,
Eve, Jane could maybe come up to you.
absolutely, I'm happy to go with or record anything. I'm sure the girls from the charity would be happy to do that too, that we could put something together if there was anything that needed to be done. But yes, don't feel afraid to contact me for anything at all. I am one of you.
Good.
I am absolutely one of you. So happy to do whatever would be required. Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Great.
Great.
Just don't ask me to come up and give a demonstration on making sausage rolls, because I'd crumble under the pressure.
I'll tell you, Jane, a lot of us now cheat. We just buy the basic.
Oh,
Yes, I know
Yes.
you don't want to
la,
hear
la, la,
that.
la, 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 la,
I've
la.
given them up.
But a lot of us now just buy
Yes, I can understand. I suppose when you've got a large event on, or you've maybe invited some other institutes. Oh, I know. Yes, I
We
know.
have done it. We have done it. We buy the ready-made stuff. I know we shouldn't, but we do. But good on you making your own. Good.
Or a wee run round Costco for some sandwiches or whatever. Yes, I know. We've all done it. I'm giving away lodgers' secrets now. Goodness gracious. Right. Okay. It's fine. It's fine.
And I suppose I've got one thing that's slightly off what we're talking about just now, but I wondered whether there was something. I know that some people make not prosthetic, but they make something to cover.
Yes, they do. There is a charity.
Oh, there's a charity for that, is there? That's not.
Am I allowed to say this? Knitted knockers.
Knitted knockers.
Yeah, we've seen them.
Yes. And I have had a knitted knocker.
Yes.
And it was absolutely fantastic. And yes, you know, what a great thing perhaps to have in Scotland. Wonderful thing, because they are desperately needed. And you know, they make such a difference, and I think that's the key, because you can also get knitted ones that cope with swimming pools, and that's fantastic as well. And you know, even I hope the girls don't mind just saying that in Scotland, Breast Cancer Now every year has, as well as afternoon tea and all the other fundraising, a huge fundraiser each year where some of us take to the catwalk. And it should have obviously been held last year, and we couldn't, and we can't do it this year, but there will almost certainly be something next year, and I have agreed to take part as one of the catwalk models. So if any of the institutes fancied a wee lunch table, come and help us raise some money. It's usually in Glasgow, but come and help raise some money and have an amazing afternoon of fun, hilarity, and watch me career down a catwalk.
Oh, you'll be wonderful, Jane.
Yes, brilliant.
It's such a brilliant event.
It is.
Is that advertised on your website?
It will be.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
that's
will
great.
be.
It will be.
Because we're not able to do it this year. It's not there yet, but we can certainly keep you all posted with when that goes live.
Yep.
Yeah, everything's a bit uncertain at the moment.
It is.
No, it is.
But yeah.
And I suppose the other question I have is how percentage-wise, how much has it affected you, the coronavirus pandemic? How much has it affected you in terms of money coming in? Is it a huge percentage?
As I said, by August, we're expecting to have seen our income fall. It's by about 35%. So it's, you know, we've been really lucky, like I say, in that we've still had some incredible support over the last year, but just with some of the bigger physical events not being able to go ahead as they usually would, people's financial situations changing drastically, depending on jobs and people being able to work. So we just feel incredibly lucky you know, to be here, to still have people fundraising for us. But, you know, we would love to get our fundraising back to where it was before, so that, you know, we can fund even more research and look at other support services and where there's a need.
Yeah. Well, that's been brilliant. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Sami.
Pleasure.
And
Thank you for having us.
And yeah, absolutely. Been lovely to meet you all.
Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye, ladies. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.